Kimberly, by the way, is the Senior Foreign Policy Advisor for the Committee for Responsible Foreign Policy. She is a TV correspondent at CW6 News San Diego, as well as One America News Network. It is the KD Report, and as I said, she's streaming live, Periscope.com, Facebook, and YouTube. Kimberly, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself, Chuck?
Pretty good. And brand new hours here, and getting everything set up, and thank you for getting up earlier. Yes.
Oh, you have to get up earlier. I'm on East Coast time, so it's past lunchtime here.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Boy, I'll tell you. First off, this historical event. I mentioned on my newscast. I actually stayed up and watched the whole thing live, right? Because I was very concerned, that something was going to happen because security looked very left on both sides there. And then there was the blonde lady. I have no idea. She kept talking to the North Korean people. I don't know who she is. She had a saddlebag on her side. She was at first. She's American, but then she was like she must work for the North Korean. I don't know if she was telling them what to do.
Interpreters.
I got to ask you about that real quick. What do you think?
And again, I think this is a significant step forward in the Trump administration actually choosing diplomacy over conflict. There's no reason for us to be at war with just about everybody around the world except for our handful of allies. This actually showed a lot of guts and reminded me when President Nixon actually organized and brokered the deal that actually split apart China and Russia. And then that was sort of the beginning of the end of the Cold War. So that was an act of diplomacy, and that's where it led. And now we're relatively friendly with China, and Russia is getting a bad rap, I believe. But in any event, now they're allies. You turn these people into allies more so than just say, hey, let's just drop a bomb on them and kill them all.
Kimberly, two things that I mentioned on my earlier newscast. Number one was because I stayed up and watched the whole thing, and then later I checked and I was going to AOL, and you open it up and there's their news. Mm-hmm. It was the 14th story.
Yeah.
All right. Wow.
Because it's a win. It's a win for the president. It was, unplanned. Maybe that's why security looked a little more difficult. But the president took a chance. He listened to his gut, and again, he was right. So now it's really amazing to see all the Democrats on the left saying, no, we need to advocate war for that now. The president's way off here. So.
And overall, the 20 that are running for president on the Democratic side, overall, it was, they determined it was nothing more than a photo op.
Yeah. Well.
Saying, my goodness, they give President Obama the Nobel Peace Prize because he got elected as a black man, and apparently he was going to do all kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
And I hate the Nobel Peace Prize Committee now because of a lot of stupid things they've done. But anyway.
I was just going to say too, when you read
I just have already got it.
Okay, just one last point before I know we're going to break here. The one point that I want to make in a number of stories I've read from Yahoo to major publications, within the first one or two paragraphs, they're referring to the President of the United States as a reality TV star, not the President of the free world, a reality TV star. So they continue to mock this president even on a historical day, and the country will look back on this and say, wow, that was, just like Nixon, he didn't really get credit for it up front, but in the end, they get the credit for it. And again, the president went out on a limb for this. So it was a good move.
Yeah, I'm going to take our break, and also it's always Mr. Trump. Boy, I remember when they used to chew you out if you didn't use it. President, I used to get chewed out when I had to do news 100 years ago, and if I didn't say, Mr. Washington. Kimberly Dvorak, Dvorak, streaming live on Facebook. We're going to be Kimberly Dvorak, and there's that echo again. I don't know if you're hearing it, Kim.
I'm not hearing a thing here.
All right. Anyway, the act of diplomacy, we touched on that a little bit, and isn't it amazing, though, that how even the conservatives put up with the non-attention that Trump should be getting, okay?
Yeah.
The accolades, so to speak. But it's just absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
You also wanted to talk about who wasn't there.
Yep.
What's your thought on that?
Well, the NSA director for President Trump, John Bolton, has been actually kind of, he wasn't allowed to go on this trip. And a lot of people who were working on the last summit for President Trump said that Mr. Bolton got himself into a lot of trouble, offended a lot of North Koreans and Chinese. And, as such, he was not invited to this event. And it's actually a pretty strong sign from the president that he really wants to come to some sort of diplomatic solution here to bring the North Korean regime out of the shadows and to allow them to, get their country turned around. I mean, the president said, they've got a lot of, potential for tourism and things of that nature. I'm not certain in the next 10 years I'd be going over for a vacation, but he's looking at the positive side and trying to be nice, and it's sometimes easier to talk to your enemies using honey rather than sriracha sauce. So it looks like it's favoring the president, right now. And you were absolutely right. A lot of the right-leaning think tanks came out and admonished the president for this visit and said it was short-sighted and they were rewarding dictatorships when they failed to see that us appeasing the Middle East really hasn't worked out that well. So the president's taking it on himself here to say, look, I see some sort of peace, I see a resolution, and I'm going to do what I can to see if we can come to that conclusion.
Let me tell you something. When it comes to appeasing, that word, you got to stop there for you on the other side. And think about Kim, okay, North Korea. This guy is like they say, a descendant from God. That's his number one rating there, so to speak. And they sort of don't even want Americans taking pictures of him, actually, but they've exceeded to that. But this is the first time in the history of North Korea, other than whenever they were fighting a war, that they've ever stepped foot into South Korea, because that's like a no-no. That's like giving in to him or something like that. And he did it. And I'm almost certain that Trump wasn't 100% sure that he was going to turn around and take those 20 other steps,
Yeah, but the president, again, extended a hand, extended a carrot to show the dictator for life in North Korea, in the case here, that if he decides he wants to go a different way, if he wants to provide for his people, if he wants to expand the economy within North Korea, if they want to up their alliance with South Korea, that this is what needs to be done. The president reached out first, did this, and in a sign of honor, and that's what it is. The Asian people, they are really duty bound and honor bound, and it was inexplicable that the president or the dictator for life, Kim, will turn around and walk on the south border side. It was a stunning moment, and it's really frustrating working in the foreign policy departments and studying this stuff and knowing what's going on around the world, that we don't have more support from our elitists here in Washington, D.C. They simply just don't want this president to succeed. And there was no greater display when the president did this, and most of the major newspapers and news outfits, didn't respond all too favorably.
And I felt when I was watching it, and they were in the room, and they said now he's going to go out and he's going to meet with Kim, supposedly. And it was sort of like, I hope Kim's there, because this is really going to be, the left will go crazy on this. And I'm sure they had their fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Something's going to go wrong. Something's going to go wrong. And the amazing thing is, how, and even I said, boy, I wish he wasn't so fast on the trigger when he first got elected, sending all those tweets. This whole thing started with a tweet. Hey, see if you can get Kim to meet me at the DMZ.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure, I'll see. And this is to the South Korean president.
Yeah.
So he didn't get to play too big of a part, because that really would have been very
Yeah, well, I think you're seeing a country that's, I mean, they're economically, they're in such decline, they can't even feed their own people. It is a dictatorship. They do have concentration camps, real concentration camps, not unaccompanied minors at the border here in America. They actually have real camps where they actually torture people to death. They actually have that. But I think that the president thinking on this is, look, we're not getting along. They still have those camps. They're ostracized for the most part. Again, let me reach out and say, look what you can do. Look how your country could play, what role it could play on an international stage. It would help your people, it would help you, and it would bring some form of peace to that part of the world, and hopefully heal what's going on with South Korea. And it seems like both countries there want to work together as well. So there's no kudos for the president in this. And what's wrong with trying something different? For the past 40 years, 50 years, nothing else has been done. So why not trying something different? It may work out and it may not, but at least he tried, and he did make history.
Yeah, and the mainstream media kept bringing up another country. Said, where was that? Australia or something where there's two people being held. That was a really big deal.
Yeah.
I can't remember what country it is right now. Do you recall?
I don't remember, no.
Anyway, and then when you think about concentration camps, you could look at China.
Yeah.
Okay. And, they're getting pretty carried away. I mean, I'm telling you, wow, if you're gay or Christian, watch out. But you know what?
Or Uyghurs, because they have the Uyghurs in the re-education camp. So all the Muslim Uyghurs,
I saw a report last night, and the big deal was Trump bad, China tariffs. We're going to run out of fireworks, and America can't make fireworks. So he said we'll never be able to catch up with China making fireworks because they've been doing it for 2,000 years. But it is something to think about.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can get them, sneak them across the border from Mexico. Let Mexico buy them from China. And we'll get it done by the next 4th of July.
I'm fairly certain, though, in California that fireworks of any kind are illegal. You come out here in Washington, D.C., you see all of the stands all over. Buy your fireworks here. And I'm not talking little itty-bitty fireworks. You buy massive, large fireworks, and a lot of people do. Of course, everything is like green and humidity is not going to set fires. But yeah, California, you can't do that. And I know a lot of Californians, and I was one of them, who used to go south of the border to celebrate 4th of July, so you can do these fireworks and make it a holiday.
I'll tell you, in my neighborhood, they go off. We have some Chinese people not too far away. I think they have a direct connection. But anyway, and it's like $1,200 fine this year.
Yeah. Do you have that address? I'd like to get that address.
All right. Another serious topic we're going to discuss now is Mexico again. Kimberly says the Trump administration says that there are about 1.1 million individuals with final removal orders. We were speaking about Bolton a few moments ago, and there's a name popping up here. If I can, what is his name? McAnellen or something like that? He's, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
I made a mistake with this guy.
I actually spoke to Tom Homan, who was the ICE director, and now advises the president, and he was saying that the new director is actually we're going the wrong direction, so to speak. So he's been whispering into the president's ear what's really going on. I think the president hired him on as a advisor, so he would move the people or senior leadership, at least at CBP, ICE, and Border Patrol, to actually start, following the law in this country. But when you have Nancy Pelosi saying, okay, well, we'll give you guys $4.6 billion, but, this whole interior enforcement thing, I don't know what good that does. We're not deporting these people. It doesn't matter. And when you have the speaker coming out and making that kind of statement and then signing off on a bill that provides $0 for border protection or border walls, and actually underfunded Border Patrol and ICE, but giving a lot of health care to these unaccompanied minors. And you're seeing that more than $3 billion will go to these young people who are staying in these detention facilities. And they're staying in those detention facilities because, as you know, when these children cross the border, a lot of them are on rotation. They're renting a child. Their parents are allowing their children to be rented to come across the border. And if an American parent was doing something like that, you would be arrested. Your child would be taken away from you. And that's why
I'm going to tell you that the progressives don't want to hear that.
No.
You talk about how renting the children and stuff like that. They've already come out with a DNA test they give them. I think it's the Wiki DNA.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how it works, but it doesn't take very long.
Yeah, about 35%. Yeah.
How much?
About 35% of the kids are not with a family member.
Yeah, because I heard 40%.
Yeah.
Now, they're separated for a reason. And it's, if you had a young child, and let's say you're trying to sneak into Canada, and you're taking your little boy and your little girl with you, you wouldn't want to be separated, all right?
Yeah.
But the problem is that coming across, they've already found out, like we just stated, 40%, 35% are not the children of those parents. They're being used as decoys, I guess. Like duck hunting.
Yeah. Absolutely, and these numbers are solid, and this is again where I kind of don't understand where the left is coming from, because they're the supposed to be the party of big government and having the government look after the children for you, and so you could work full time, and they're expanding. They want free daycare, free pre-K education, yet they're sitting by and watching what's going on at the border and treating it as a Nazi concentration camp, and saying that we're a terrible, terrible country for doing this. If they really looked at what those kids go through, a lot of those kids are raped and beaten, and when they come to this side, the CBP and the Border Patrol and ICE people are saying, oh my gosh, we need to get these kids away from this situation so we can get people to actually help these children who are most likely going to be tainted by this experience for the rest of their lives. And if that's not the right thing to do, then this country is completely lost on that.
I was seeing a report on the update on some of the centers where they're holding the children, and they've got all these brand new washers and dryers, brand new mattresses, and whenever they wash their clothes, so they'll be ready, 2 or 3 days after they have to let them go now, they give them new clothes to wear, and the price is millions.
Yeah, well, and also the Border Patrol agents themselves are bringing their own children's toys to these facilities so these young kids can actually, have some sort of pretense of a normal childhood. No, that doesn't make the news that these agents are doing that. They're, doing what they can to help these kids because they understand it's a tough situation. But once those kids are released, they're most likely going to go to a relative who is somewhere in the United States, whether it's legally or illegally. And if that's a family member, where they're coming from, most likely they have about the same, set of values that their relatives in Central America have, which is they have no problem abusing children. So, it just, when you look at the bigger picture, and as a parent, you're looking at this, and it looks to me like we're doing what we actually should be doing to protect these kids. And I know it's not the Ritz-Carlton down there. That's not the case. But you know what? We have got to stop them from getting to this border and crossing into this country so easily. And if parents are watching their kids being taken away, now they're not going to see them for years, most likely. They may say, you know what? I'm not going to send my kids up to cross the border because I really do want to help, see them grow up.
And by the way, listener, pardon me, Kimberly Dvorak, Dvorak, as I said, streams live on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope.com. And she gave me some great figures, and we're going to look at some of these numbers and concentrate on a few of them when we come back after the break. but in 2018, ICE removed 256,086 illegal aliens, with convicted criminals accounting for the majority, and that was 57%.
Yep.
Oh, but don't worry, they're not coming into your town, right? Well, who knows?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, and I hope you're worried about it too. All right.
Yeah.
It's the KD Report. She's streaming live, Facebook. We are going to take a break, and then we shall continue. Statistics here.
Yeah.
I gave out the 2018 ICE removal, most frequent criminals, and then you have one on suspected gang members
And terrorists.
Shake them up a little bit.
Yeah, they've sent back nearly 6,000 gang members and or terrorists actually back to Mexico. So you're seeing the U.S. government like taking a strong stance, especially when it comes to the terrorist aspect of this. But I want to kind of step back, and it kind of the article or the numbers here state that the most offended or the most broken laws by these immigrants are actually DUIs, driving without a driver's license, stolen vehicles, things of that nature. So this is where they get those high numbers from. And this, I think there's a tie to this as to why a lot of these states, especially California, are handing out driver's licenses to these people. And these people can use these driver's licenses to get on a plane. So you're looking at this scenario, and now suddenly you see the numbers and you're going, you know what, this may be why they're really, going after, most states to provide driver's licenses, because it'll knock down the crime. It doesn't knock down the fact that they're in the country illegally, that they illegally crossed in, or they overstayed their visa, but it's something that will, kind of lower the threshold in the high numbers that, you see year to year in this country.
Well, because you're a California woman, sorry, and California, giving illegal aliens driver's license, and then you find out, my goodness, 20% of them were voting. They thought, hey, I got a driver's license, I get to vote, and somehow it kind of works its way around. New York now doing it. The other thing, though, that gang members, terrorists, this figure, 5,914 of the removed illegal aliens in fiscal year 2018 were suspected gang members or possibly terrorists.
Yeah.
Now, that could ruin your day, but
apparently not California.
They don't want to face the facts.
Yeah, not California. But I want to just make a quick point here, too. The president kind of had a showdown with Mexico a few weeks back. He said that he was going to implement tariffs on Mexico for not doing anything to secure its borders. And so new numbers came out on this as well. They've sent 6,000 of their border and their National Guard folks down to secure their southern border. They sent 15,000 law enforcement officials to the northern border that, with America and the Mexico. It sent 1,000 Mexican immigration agents to the northern and southern borders in an effort to actually curb and stall this massive migration to America. And Nancy Pelosi and the folks in DC can't see why this is important. Mexico is acting, and they're acting because they don't want to pay tariffs. So this kind of goes to the broad picture in Trump's ability to actually use tariffs to gain and elicit responses that is going to be positive for this country. So we have Mexico taking supercharge here. They arrested 800 in one day in Veracruz, and that's interior enforcement. They're starting to at least help us out on that front. Now it's up to the United States to start doing some of that stuff so we can slow this migration down as well.
Kimberly, we have run out of time. Excellent report on your part. Kimberly Dvorak, D-V-O-R-A-K. And be looking for this entire report on YouTube just a little bit later on.
Yep.
And her website, thekdreport.com. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.